Remember that time when you couldn't find gas anywhere? Yeah, that wasn't fun. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare with empty gas stations and long lines of cars stretching for miles. People were growing increasingly frustrated and the tension was palpable. It was a crisis that none of us saw coming and it hit us hard. It felt like something out of a Mad Max movie, with everyone scrambling to get their hands on the last drops of fuel. The chaos was overwhelming and it seemed like society was on the brink of collapse. People were arguing, tempers were flaring, and the sense of desperation was unlike anything we had ever experienced before. With everyone fighting over the last drops of fuel, it was a stark reminder of how fragile our modern conveniences really are. The scenes at the gas stations were tense and sometimes even violent, as people fought to secure enough gas to get by. It was a sobering experience that left many of us questioning how we would cope in a prolonged crisis. But this wasn't a movie. This was real life, and the reality of the situation was even more unsettling. The empty gas pumps and the long lines of cars were a stark reminder of how dependent we are on a steady supply of fuel. It was a wake-up call that made us realize just how vulnerable our infrastructure can be. This was real life, and it was caused by a group of hackers you've probably never even heard of, DarkSide. These cybercriminals managed to bring one of the most powerful nations in the world to its knees, with a single, well-coordinated attack. The name DarkSide quickly became synonymous with fear and uncertainty, as their actions had far-reaching consequences. These guys weren't messing around. They were highly skilled and incredibly determined, and they knew exactly what they were doing. Their attack was meticulously planned and executed, leaving little room for error. It was a chilling reminder of the power that these cybercriminals wield, and the damage they can cause with just a few keystrokes. They weren't stealing your grandma's Facebook password. No, their ambitions were much grander. They were targeting critical infrastructure, the very systems that keep our society running smoothly. From power grids to pipelines, nothing was off limits for these hackers. Their goal was to cause maximum disruption, and they succeeded in a big way. They were taking down critical infrastructure, the backbone of America. The systems that we rely on every day to keep our lives running smoothly were suddenly vulnerable. It was a stark reminder of how interconnected and interdependent our world has become. The attack on the Colonial Pipeline was a wake-up call that highlighted the need for better cybersecurity measures to protect our critical infrastructure. And they did it with the click of a mouse. It was a sobering reminder of the power that these cybercriminals hold, and the damage they can cause with just a few clicks. The attack on the Colonial Pipeline was a wake-up call for all of us, highlighting the need for better cybersecurity measures to protect our critical infrastructure. It was a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that exist in our modern world, and the need for constant vigilance to protect against future attacks. So who were these digital bandits? The term hacker often conjures up images of shadowy figures in hoodies, hunched over keyboards in dimly lit basements. But the reality of the DarkSide group was far more sophisticated and in many ways more unsettling. DarkSide wasn't your typical group of hooded figures in a basement. They operated in a manner that was eerily similar to legitimate businesses. Imagine walking into a high-tech office space where professionals in business attire are diligently working on their computers. This was the face of DarkSide. They ran their operation like a business, almost like a twisted version of Apple or Microsoft. They had structured teams, each with specific roles and responsibilities. There were developers who created the ransomware, negotiators who handled the ransom demands, and even customer support to assist victims in making payments. They had a professional website, a press release system, and even a code of ethics. Yes, you heard that right, a code of ethics. They claimed to avoid targeting hospitals, schools, and nonprofits, presenting themselves as ethical criminals. This facade of professionalism was designed to make them appear more trustworthy to their victims. Don't let that fool you though. These guys were criminals, plain and simple. Behind the polished exterior was a ruthless organization that caused untold damage to businesses and individuals alike. Their operations were illegal, and their actions had severe consequences. Their business model was ransomware. They would hack into a company's system, lock up all their data, and then demand a hefty ransom to give it back. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it could cripple a business, leading to significant financial losses and reputational damage. Think of it as digital kidnapping, but instead of a person, they were holding your data hostage. The victims were often left with a harrowing choice: pay the ransom and hope the criminals kept their word, or lose their valuable data forever. The psychological toll on the victims was immense, as they grappled with the fear and uncertainty of the situation. The impact of these attacks went beyond just the immediate financial cost. Businesses had to deal with the aftermath, which included restoring their systems, implementing stronger security measures, and rebuilding trust with their customers. For some, the damage was irreparable, leading to closures and layoffs. In response to the growing threat of ransomware, cybersecurity measures have become more advanced. Companies are investing heavily in protecting their data, employing sophisticated technologies and expert teams to fend off potential attacks. However, the battle is ongoing, as cybercriminals continue to evolve their tactics. Law enforcement agencies around the world are also stepping up their efforts to combat these digital threats. International cooperation has led to several high-profile arrests and takedowns of ransomware groups. But the fight is far from over, as new groups emerge, ready to fill the void left by their predecessors. The story of DarkSide is a stark reminder of the dark side of the digital age. As we become more reliant on technology, the risks associated with it also increase. It's a cat-and-mouse game, with cybercriminals constantly finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities, and defenders working tirelessly to stay one step ahead. Awareness and education are crucial in this fight. By understanding the tactics used by groups like DarkSide, individuals and businesses can take proactive steps to protect themselves. This includes regular software updates, strong passwords, and being vigilant about suspicious emails and links. While the threat of ransomware is real and ever-present, it's not insurmountable. With the right precautions and a collective effort, we can mitigate the risks and safeguard our digital world. The story of DarkSide serves as both a warning and a call to action, reminding us of the importance of cybersecurity in our increasingly connected lives. Their biggest target? The Colonial Pipeline. This wasn't just any pipeline, this thing carried almost half of the East Coast's fuel supply. We're talking gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, the stuff that keeps America moving. DarkSide managed to worm their way into Colonial systems and encrypt everything. Suddenly, one of the country's most important pipelines ground to a halt. Panic ensued, people were freaking out, hoarding gas, and prices skyrocketed. The government obviously wasn't going to take this lying down. The FBI, the Department of Justice, everyone was on the case. They tracked down the hackers, who turned out to be operating from Russia. Now, Russia and the US haven't always seen eye to eye, and this whole thing just added fuel to the fire. The FBI managed to claw back some of the ransom money, but the damage was done. Section 5. The Ghost of DarkSide. The pressure was on, and eventually DarkSide announced they were shutting down. This notorious hacker group had been making headlines for months, causing havoc across various sectors. Their ransomware attacks had crippled companies, disrupted services, and even threatened national security. The world watched, in a mix of fear and fascination, as these digital bandits seemed unstoppable. They claimed it was all too much attention, and that they just wanted to make money, not cause chaos. But was that really the whole story? DarkSide's operations were sophisticated, and their reach was extensive. They had a clear modus operandi: infiltrate, encrypt, and demand a ransom. Their targets ranged from small businesses to large corporations, and their demands were often in the millions. The allure of easy money was undeniable, but the chaos they left in their wake was equally significant. Right. But here's the thing about the internet. Once something's out there, it's hard to make it disappear completely. The digital footprint of DarkSide is vast. Their tools, techniques, and even their code have been disseminated across the dark web. Cybersecurity experts warn that while the group may have disbanded, the threat they posed is far from over. Other malicious actors can and will pick up where DarkSide left off, using their methods to launch new attacks. Even though DarkSide might be gone, their tactics and their code are still out there, just waiting for someone else to use them. The legacy of DarkSide is a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities in our digital infrastructure. Companies and governments are now more vigilant, investing heavily in cybersecurity measures. However, the cat-and-mouse game between hackers and defenders continues. For every new security protocol, there's a hacker somewhere trying to break it. The ghost of DarkSide lingers, a testament to the ever-evolving landscape of cyber threats. As we move forward, the lessons learned from DarkSide's reign of terror will shape the future of cybersecurity, reminding us that in the digital age, vigilance is our best defense. Section 6. A digital Wild West. The Colonial Pipeline hack was a wake-up call. It showed just how vulnerable our critical infrastructure is to attack. We live in a digital world, and it's only going to get more digital as time goes on. Everything is connected, from our power grids to our hospitals to our traffic lights, and that means everything is a potential target for hackers. Section 7. Ransomware, a global threat. And it's not just the US. Ransomware attacks are a global problem. Hospitals, schools, businesses, no one is safe. These attacks can cripple organizations, cost millions of dollars, and even put lives at risk. Section 8. Can we stop the hackers? So what can we do about it? Well, we need to start taking cybersecurity seriously. We need to invest in better defenses, educate people about the risks, and make it harder for hackers to operate. We also need to put pressure on countries that harbor cybercriminals. We need to make it clear that we're not going to tolerate these attacks no matter where they come from. Section 9. The future of cyber warfare. The world is changing. We're engaged in a new kind of conflict, one that's fought with ones and zeros instead of bullets and bombs. The Colonial Pipeline hack was just one battle in this ongoing war. The question is, are we ready for what comes next? Because the hackers are just getting started.